I still remember the drive that changed everything. 3 hours of winding roads through rural countryside. A patient waiting at the other end who'd been told she might not make it through the night. As I navigated through the dense fog that shrouded the hills like a damp veil, I couldn't help but wonder why on earth this particular case had demanded such an outlandish detour. My team had assured me it was worth it. The patient's rare condition required a specific treatment, only available at a clinic hours away from my usual route. But as I pulled into the clinic's parking lot, something about the atmosphere felt off. The usually bustling halls were eerily quiet, and when I finally made it to the patient's room, her family was huddled around her bed in somber silence. It wasn't until we exchanged a few anxious words that I noticed the strange look on the doctor's face, like he'd just received some devastating news. For what felt like an eternity, they delayed my access to the treatment protocol, insisting on a thorough review of the patient's chart before proceeding. I was about to protest when one of the nurses sidled up to me and whispered something that made my blood run cold. We've been getting these cases for weeks now, but it doesn't add up, like someone's tampering with our records. That's when it hit me, a chilling realization that sent shivers down my spine. These patients weren't just random cases. They all shared an uncanny similarity in their medical histories, a single thread running through each of their stories that I couldn't quite put my finger on. But what really caught me off guard was the patient's family, particularly her husband, a quiet, reserved man who seemed to be hiding something behind those stoic eyes. When they finally broke down and shared their story with me, it sent shockwaves through every cell in my body. He'd been working at the local research facility for years, conducting experiments on human subjects without their consent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, a travesty of ethics that left me reeling. But as I dug deeper into the case files and started piecing together the evidence, I began to realize just how deep this rabbit hole went. It wasn't just a small-time cover-up. It was a massive conspiracy that put lives at risk on a scale I couldn't have imagined. The next few days were a blur of sleepless nights and frantic phone calls as I worked with authorities to expose the truth. We finally made the break when one of the researchers, who'd grown uneasy about the whole operation, came forward and revealed the mastermind behind it all, a scientist who'd been using his position for years to exploit vulnerable patients. Looking back now, that drive through the fog was more than just a series of twists and turns. It was a journey into the heart of darkness itself. And as I reflect on those 3 hours that changed my career forever, I'm left with one haunting question. What other secrets are lurking in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? The scientist's name was Dr. Elliot Thompson, a man who'd built a reputation as a pioneer in his field. But behind closed doors, he was manipulating data and coercing patients into participating in questionable experiments. His motives were clear: to further his own research and gain recognition, no matter the cost. But what I couldn't understand was why nobody had blown the whistle sooner, or at least, not while I was still learning about it all. As I dug deeper, I discovered that Dr. Thompson's research had been funded by a major pharmaceutical company with ties to the highest levels of government. It seemed like a massive web of corruption, and I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about the medical field. The more I learned, the more I realized just how widespread this problem was, not just limited to Dr. Thompson or even his lab. The fallout was intense. Patients who'd been involved in the experiments began coming forward with stories of their own mistreatment and exploitation. It sparked a national conversation about ethics in medicine and accountability within institutions. The government launched an investigation, and eventually, several high-ranking officials were charged with negligence and obstruction of justice. Dr. Thompson's reputation was ruined, but what really bothered me was the fact that he'd been able to operate for so long without anyone stopping him. The case got more attention than I ever could have imagined: front-page headlines, late-night news segments, and even a few documentaries exploring the scandal in depth. It made me realize just how much of an impact one person can have when they're driven by a desire for truth and justice. I'd gone from being a small-town doctor to a key player in a national story. Looking back now, that drive through the fog was more than just a series of twists and turns. It was a journey into the heart of darkness itself. And as I reflect on those 3 hours that changed my career forever, I'm left with one haunting question. What other secrets are lurking in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? It's funny, sometimes I still think about that foggy road and wonder if Dr. Thompson was already aware of what was coming for him when he made his move that day. Did he know it would all come crashing down like it did? Or was it just a desperate attempt to silence anyone who might expose him? Either way, one thing's for sure, I'll never forget the lessons I learned on that fateful drive through the fog. I remember the feeling of dread creeping in as I turned on a doctor. Thompson Street, the silence broken only by the soft hum of my tires on wet pavement. It was as if time itself had slowed down, each second ticking away with a sense of foreboding that even now still sends shivers down my spine. As I pulled up to his house, a sleek black sedan caught my eye, its tinted windows reflecting the faint glow of the porch light like a mirror. Something about it didn't sit right. There was an air of menace that seemed out of place in our sleepy little town. I shook off the feeling and focused on the task at hand, delivering the results of the routine lab tests Dr. Thompson had requested. But as I entered his house, I couldn't shake the sense that something was off. The air inside felt heavy, weighed down by a thick layer of secrets and lies. I tried to push aside my growing unease and focus on the task ahead, but it only seemed to intensify with each passing moment. It wasn't until Dr. Thompson handed me a folder marked confidential that the pieces started to fall into place. The lab tests I had brought were just a ruse, a clever distraction from the real reason he'd called me out there that day. With shaking hands, he revealed to me the shocking truth. He was involved in some of the most egregious medical malpractice our state had ever seen. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke, but as I flipped through the stack of documents and witness statements, my mind reeled with the implications. This wasn't just about one doctor's mistakes. It was a whole system designed to cover up the truth and silence anyone who dared to speak out. And Dr. Thompson, for all his charm and charisma, was at its very center. In that moment, I knew exactly what he meant by silence. Not just quieting down those who knew too much, but silencing our very voices as professionals, as human beings capable of outrage and moral outrage. It was a chilling reminder that even in the most seemingly idyllic communities, there are always secrets lurking beneath the surface. As I stood there, frozen in shock, Dr. Thompson's eyes seemed to hold a glimmer of something almost like admiration, respect, for someone who had finally seen through his carefully constructed facade and wasn't afraid to take on the truth head-on. But it was too late now. The damage had already been done. The consequences would be far-reaching, both personally and professionally. In that instant, as I gazed into those piercing eyes, something inside me shifted. A small spark ignited within me, fueling a fire that would burn bright for years to come. The weight of my discovery hit me like a ton of bricks. And yet, in that same moment, I felt an unshakable sense of purpose. As I turned to leave, Dr. Thompson's voice stopped me cold. "You're either very brave or very foolish," he said with a hint of a smile. "But either way, you've made it clear that you won't be silenced." The words hung in the air like a challenge, and I knew right then and there that nothing would ever be the same again. I stood frozen for what felt like an eternity, the weight of his words settling deep within me. Dr. Thompson's eyes seemed to bore into my very soul, as if he could see right through to the core of who I was. The room around us melted away, leaving only the two of us locked in a silent understanding that would change everything. When finally I found my voice, I managed only a barely audible "thank you" before turning and fleeing the office. The drive back was a blur, my mind reeling with the implications of what had just transpired. 3 hours felt like an eternity as I hurtled through the darkness, the GPS leading me to our small clinic on the outskirts of town. As I arrived, the adrenaline coursing through my veins began to ebb, leaving in its wake a sense of weariness that threatened to consume me whole. But I couldn't rest yet. The events of the day had planted a seed within me, and it was already sprouting into something more, a burning desire to expose the truth. No matter the cost, my patient's words echoed in my mind like a mantra. "You won't be silenced." And with that promise came a realization. I had been living someone else's dream all along. The familiar sight of our clinic's exterior brought me up short. I had thought I was driven to make a difference, but it was only when faced with the harsh realities of this world that I realized my true passion lay not in treatment, but in prevention. The 3 hours spent driving felt like an eternity, but they were also a rebirth, and I knew right then and there that nothing would ever be the same again. Over the next few weeks, I found myself poring over research and attending seminars on public health policy, my mind racing with ideas for reforming our outdated systems. It was a steep learning curve, but one that fueled me like never before. The fire lit within me by Dr. Thompson's words continued to burn bright, illuminating paths I had previously ignored. I remember a particularly grueling night spent poring over data, the hours ticking by as I wrestled with the complexities of healthcare reform. My colleagues and family would often joke about my newfound obsession, but deep down they knew it was more than just a phase. I had found my calling. The hours ticked by in a haze of coffee and late-night conversations, each new discovery fueling me to push forward. As the months went by, our small clinic became a hub for change, attracting attention from both local officials and national organizations seeking to address the systemic problems plaguing our healthcare system. I found myself at the forefront of a movement, using my newfound expertise to advocate for patients' rights and expose the truth behind the medical establishment's darkest secrets. The journey was far from easy. Pushback came from all sides, with some questioning my motives and others dismissing me as a naive newcomer. But I refused to be silenced, knowing that the fate of countless lives hung in the balance. And so, with each new challenge, I stood firm, driven by the unyielding conviction that change was not only possible but imperative. As I reflect on those pivotal moments, I'm struck by the realization that it all started with one patient and a single chance encounter with a brilliant doctor who dared to be different. The spark ignited within me would continue to burn bright for years to come, fueling a career driven by a singular purpose: exposing the truth, no matter what the cost.